Okay, so this is our next video. I'm going to be showing you how to attach Purl onto your cloud, and this is our silver lining to our cloud on our rainbow, and this completes our sessions. So what you need to do with Purl, it's just like a little string of pearls there, and you need to just pull it very, very gently. So you need to pull it about a third larger, and what that does is it actually releases between each one of the pearls. So I'm just going to give it a bit of a stretch. We need it to be longer than that anyway. So if you stretch it in one go, then all of the pearls will be about the same distance apart. Okay, and I'm just going to stretch that little bit of an end as well. Okay, what I tend to do is I tend to just trim off the very end, as that won't necessarily fit. Okay, so just make sure that that's nice and neat, and then just make sure that that roll of that pearl lies, and it doesn't really matter whereabouts you start. On this one I'm just going to start, well actually I usually start at the bottom, because your eye tends to be drawn more to the right and the top, so if you start at the bottom the join will be less noticeable. So what I always tend to do is you're coming up almost in exactly the same stitches as you've put on your cloud. So you're going to be going in those same stitches, and that way you're not perforating the leather excessively. You're coming up on the very edge of your leather and going into the same hole. So what that will mean is that your Purl will just lie nicely on the edge of your leather, and then all your stitches into the leather that we've just done on the last video won't be seen at all. So I'm going to bring that round here, and I'm just going to lie that down. Now what I tend to do is, you can see there, I'm starting up right in that little V there. What I tend to do is I tend to go a little bit of a way down the Purl, and the reason for that is that it's very, very wobbly, and if you start right on the end it will probably just come out. So if you actually just start almost a centimetre, a quarter of an inch away from the very end, then you can actually secure it in place much, much better. Okay, so these are my first couple of stitches there, and then I'm going to do my final stitch right at the end. So see how the thread is just nicely falling into those gaps, and what you can do is, if you're not really happy with exactly where your Purl is lying, you can actually twist it at the beginning and make sure that it fits perfectly. So I've just given it a little bit of a twist, and I'm just going to secure that one in place now. Just make sure that that stitch goes right over that very last pearl. Okay, so what you can do is, see how now the Purl is just lying this way, you can actually give it a little bit of a bend and it will curve more. So you can actually curve, but you have to be careful that you don't curve it too much so that it makes more of a point, but you can curve it and then it'll just lie nicely around that cloud edge. Okay, so now we're going to come back to our next stitch. So we've done our first 3 stitches, and now we're going to go past and we're going to carry on. Okay, so you're going down sort of every 2 to 3 pearls with this, and again, as I said, you're coming up on the very, very edge of the leather and you're going into the leather, and that way you won't see any of those stitches that you've created when you were going around the leather. So this is securing the Purl right against the leather, and this is creating our beautiful silver lining on our leather. Purl's a great wire. You never ever plunge any of the wires. They're always left on the surface, because with the threads you will plunge them, and the reason you plunge the threads is because obviously they would shred and unravel. But with the wires when you cut them, that's it. They just remain exactly the same as where you've cut them. They don't change and they don't unravel. because they are a wire. So with this, once you've cut it, it will just stay exactly where you need it to stay. Okay, so I'm just bringing that around there like that. Now, when we get to this edge, you'll see how I actually create that corner. Just make sure, can you see that there? It just needs to go in between each one of those pearls. And that's one of the reasons why we actually pull the purl apart, because if you don't, then the thread will not fall between the pearls. But of course, it also depends on the angle you're doing your stitches at, and your stitches do need to be slightly angled because the purl is slightly angled. It is a spiral. So we'll just bring that one over there, make sure we go down into there. And then what we need to do is we just need to make sure we give that a little bit of a tweak. So I'm going to use my nails. You can use tweezers. My nails are really, really strong. So you can use tweezers or anything like that just to create that rounded shape. So now we're going to come round. I'm going to take our purl around the edge here. So I'm just going to over curve it, and that way it'll hold some of the curve, because it is a very stiff wire, so it will hold some of that curve. Okay, so again, we're just going into those holes that we've created in that leather, and just make sure that it does go down between those purl gaps. So I'm very excited about this rainbow. It's a beautiful design. I actually created him last year for one of the magazines, and it was a project in there, so it's just very, very appropriate for the current time, isn't it? And because it is so appropriate, I thought we'd do it as one of our first major stitch alongs. Our very first one was actually the pumpkin that we did last year. So this is our second one. Been really, really busy with all of what's happening in the world at the moment. So it's taken us slightly longer than I did anticipate. But, oh, must have caught something in there from another thread. Okay, because when I finished the leather, I haven't turned it off and oversewn the thread on the back, so I haven't trimmed it off yet. Just make sure I'm coming up right against the leather there. Okay. I'll just carry on all the way around. So when I get to the next point, obviously I'll show you how to do that as well, and then we can probably speed it up, and you're not having to watch every single thread, because obviously, you know, it does take that little bit longer to do because they are all very close together, all the stitches. So like we did on the leather demonstration, I will speed it up for you. But as I say, this is our last video now, so this basically completes the rainbow, and you'll have a beautiful rainbow which you can use for whatever purpose. Right, okay, so we're just at that corner there. I'm just going to pop my needle up there, and I'm just going to use my nail and tweak it around, and then we just need to make sure that we over curve it, and then when we leave go, it'll just create a very nice curve right against the edge of the leather and onto the edge of the rainbow. So yeah, I mean, you could put this on a pillow, or you could use it on a special quilt for somebody. It's a really nice design, and it can be used for lots of different purposes. A lot of children love rainbows anyway, because they're so colourful and beautiful, aren't they? So it does make for a stunning design, and I actually adore the colours. In the book that we did, there's a page of twists, and it's not in the rainbow colours per se, but it is really, really nice lines, and very, very colourful. And there's a lot of that in the book. So you'd see if you've got it, or if you do get it, you will see loads and loads of colour, because that was one of the aims that I wanted to create. Gold doesn't just have to be gold work. It can be colour. So I had one lady one particular time say that she didn't like gold, and I said, well, it doesn't have to be gold. You can. What's your favourite colour? And you can do any colour. If you just wanted to do a purple design, you can do a purple design, because there's so many different leathers and wires and threads in lots and lots of different colours that it doesn't really matter these days. You can do it in any, which is just perfect. Right, so I'm going to speed this up now, and then we can finish it off. Okay, so I'm really quite close to the end of finishing the purl now. So what's important is that you actually get your edging right and you cut it just where you need it to be. And sometimes it's a good idea to just cut it one or two of the pearls longer, so that you don't actually, so that you can trim it down if you need to. So I'm just going to cut it there, and I always try to cut it a little bit higher up, because this area is the area that I actually use for the bright check. So I try and cut it higher up the scissors. I'm going to cut it about there, so I'm just holding it and then I'm moving my scissors up a bit, trimming it off. Just move that piece away, and then I'm just going to lift it up there. And that's too long, that's definitely too long, probably by about a couple of pearls. So I need to just trim away a couple of pearls there. Okay, so that's just going to be perfect now. Now again, it's probably just one too many. It's when it's lying down there. Okay, so you can see there's just one little pearl just there. Okay, so I'm going to pull that down now. I'm going to stitch and finish it off. Okay, we're nearly at the end of our beautiful colourful rainbow. And these are our final stitches. So well done everybody that's kept along and kept up with the rainbow with me. Very impressive. I look forward to seeing some of the pictures of your piece of work. You can send them in via email, or if you're on Instagram or Facebook, send them to me on those platforms. It'd be lovely to see. I always like to see customers' work. I get a lot of tags. In there. So here you can just see there, I'm just going to put one over the very, very end as well. You can just see the join, but what you can do if you wanted to is actually do the join so it's on one of these rounded edges, probably just about here or here, and then you can actually match the pearls up a lot neater as well, and so you won't actually see any join at all, and it's hardly noticeable there anyway, but yes, it depends on whether you're a perfectionist or not. So there we go. Just move that little bit of purl there. That's our beautiful rainbow, and thank you very much for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed it, and come and join us for our next stitch along. This one I produced, and I absolutely love it because I love all the colours, and as you know, it is a charitable rainbow kit as well, so anybody that's bought one of those, there will be a donation to the NHS charities and St Rocco's Hospice as well. Very well worth charity. So thank you very much for joining us, and take care of yourself. Bye.